Hey guys, how's it going today? GriffyBit here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit of educational. We're going to be making a tier list for all the classes in party dungeons to show you which ones are the best, which ones are okay, and which ones are decent to kind of give you an idea of what character you want to play in party dungeons. I've got my own personal opinions, and I've also gotten the opinions from my Twitch chat. So, let's get down into it. So we're discussing a tier list here. I'll explain to you why my reasoning for this tier list for each class that we do. And once we have it all down, we'll rank them, and then we'll be able to tell you why I believe and chat believes the reasons for this choosing. Let's start off with the archer. I've placed the archer at D tier because the only thing it really has going for it is piercing arrow. Piercing arrow can go through enemies and do multiple attacks, but when it comes to its basic auto attacks, it really falls short because it's single target and it's a slow attack speed. It's not very viable in most situations until you start getting into a little bit of the subclass, and then it starts getting a little bit better. But for the base stat of just an archer, piercing arrow and kung fu kick won't push it early game, mid game, or late game in party dungeons. I've placed the warrior in C tier because of power strike and whirl. Power strike is good for almost an auto attack reset because of the scaling and damage in party dungeons, and the whirl has an AoE. Also, with a warrior's auto attacks, it is absolutely AoE passive all the way through, so it's still going to be viable in an early game setting. I've also put mage in C tier as well because of energy bolt and mini fireball. Energy Bolt is a decent single target that stacks onto your auto attack, and Fireball is just good extra damage that has potential chance of doing AoE. The biggest problem that the mage has, and you'll see later on with the shaman and the wizard, is the mana. The mana is so bad because you don't have enough to barely cast your spells. So you actually have to wait until you rank up and power up your character so you can actually use the credits to buy mana, so you can actually build a proper build and actually use these in a late game scenario. At the beginning, it's almost impossible to use a magic user for that specific reason, but once you start going on to the later game, then you'll see the magic users start to get better. So usually in an area, if you have a mage at this point, you are probably going to be just starting party dungeons, so therefore you don't have enough mana to be able to do that. Instead of prioritizing stuff as class weapons or base damage or total damage, you're going to be spending most of your credits on mana. So for that reason, C tier. Journeyman is in the F tier because the Journeyman's only ability is the whip. And the whip does not do that much damage at the start. Not only that, it pulls enemies towards you. So you'll find yourself using the whip and actually causing yourself to get killed more likely than actually getting the kill. So this is a huge issue, and it causes a lot of problems. And also, because of party dungeons, you don't get the double hit passive from Journeyman, so you're dealing with a single hit with single target and a pull that pulls enemies towards you. Although it does AoE, you are still taking damage, and that's a potential chance to die. So in party dungeons, Journeyman, F tier. For Bowman, we decided to put it in C tier. Flax Insta-String, Magic Short Bow, and Homing Arrows are the abilities that you get for the Bowman, also including Piercing Arrow and Kung Fu Kick. But as I said before with the Archer, with the Piercing Arrow and the Kung Fu Kick, it's not going to be as viable as you think it is. But the biggest problem why Bowman is C tier is because Flax Insta-String does not do enough damage, especially at a high level, but considering that's a party dungeon, it gets scaled down. Same with Magic Short Bow, although it does a little bit of AoE, it doesn't do enough. And Homing Arrows is considered bugged at most points, so it's not consistent. Half the time, 3 arrows might hit a mob, but then the 8 arrows might go off in Wonderland and not hit anything, even though you're right beside another creature. So for that sheer inconsistency, and the fact that it's long-range single target slow damage, it gets a C tier. Hunter gets a B tier because of 360 no scope and bear trap. Uwu Rar does not do anything, and Stop Right There doesn't do as much either. But 360 no scope and bear trap give you a little bit more of consistency than of the Bowman. So 360 no scope actually gives you a little bit more AoE alongside your piercing arrow. But bear trap is very inconsistent as well, and especially since you can't level it up in party dungeons, you don't get the maximum amount of traps that you need. So, the inconsistency of the traps really only work in World 1 party dungeons. But other than that, it doesn't do much for damage. So, for that reason, it gets to stay at the B tier, just above Bowman, but not much better by any margin. Shamans would be S tier, but because of the MP at the early game, since it's so hard, Shaman has one of the highest MP spending abilities in all of IdleOn. The only thing that you can really use at the beginning is the vials. And the crazy concoctions actually have huge damage and are very viable in many situations, so using Shaman would be a good idea. Auspicious Aura is also very good for boss damage if you just need that extra consistent DPS. Sizzling Skull is not that great because of the inconsistent bounces, and especially the difference between World 1 party dungeons, World 2 party dungeons, World 3 party dungeons. There's not going to be people that are actually going to be lined up for Sizzling Skull to actually hit. But with the concoctions, the aura, and having the ability to have Energy Bolt and Mini Fireball, these are also very viable. Like I said, it would be S tier if it didn't have such incredible mana issues. Squire gets one of the top of the spots in S tier due to Shockwave Slash and Dagger Rang. These two abilities are both AoE reliant and do incredible damage even at early game party dungeons. Not only that, you also have Power Strike for your auto attack reset, you have Whirl for your AoE, and your passive auto attacks do AoE as well. For clearing, this is absolutely amazing, and also for boss damage, it is very strong, because Dagger Rang has the ability to hit the boss multiple times. So for me, Squire is guaranteed S tier. Wizard also gets an A on this rank because of Ice Shards, Flora's Lava, and Tornado. All of these cost less mana than a lot of the Shaman abilities, but you're still coming to the same case as running out of mana and you need to prioritize your credits to buy mana instead of using it for something more important such as total damage, base damage, or your class weapon. But Tornado has incredible AoE and it actually does incredible damage to bosses. Flora's Lava is absolutely fantastic for clearing mobs and being able to get that AoE as well. And Ice Shards is actually very good in World 1 party dungeons and World 2 party dungeons, and also World 3 party dungeons for the slow. It is one of the only CCs in the game, and it will cause you to actually not die Tier 3 of World 2 party dungeons because of you have that CC slow. Not to mention, you also have Mini Fireball, and you also have Energy Bolt. And Ice Shards does have a potential ability to do AoE if the mobs are close enough. So, for that reason, and the mana issues that you've seen in the Shaman, and you've also seen in the Mage, it gets an A tier. Very viable class, but it takes a lot of build up for it to start being strong. Barbarian is also S tier for around the same deal as the Squire, except it has Bear Swipe and Axe Hurl. But the thing about Bear Swipe is it has its own special sort of perk to it. Instead of Shockwave Slash just going in a straight line, it has the ability to hit the platform above you, so you can actually output more damage, and Axe Hurl is good for setting up if you're trying to destroy enemies on the top platform when you're on the bottom platform. Also with the AoE auto attacks, the Whirl of your AoE from the Warrior class tab, and also the Power Strike for the auto reset. These two classes are incredibly viable in early and late game, so it's no likely that it deserves to be at the S tier spot. And I totally just realized making this tier list, I did not add the Maestro class, so we just threw them on in there. Now the Maestro, I am going to be leaving at A tier. Now here's why. Maestro is definitely considered an S tier character, with the ability of Coin Toss is very strong for AoE, not to mention it's kind of like Shaman's Vials, but it has the ability to bounce so you can do multiple damage. The whip is not very viable, but that's fine. What makes the Maestro really good is two things: Coin Toss and a Celtic Ordeal. If you guys did not know, in party dungeons, if you have an Celtic Ordeal, which is the level 85 Maestro weapon, you can wear it instead of using a class weapon and still keep the attack speed of the Celtic Ordeal, so you punch incredibly fast. But the problem is you don't get the dungeon power from the weapon, but it ends up scaling out in the long run. Also, with the ability or the RNG item that's called Stardew Drop, the Maestro benefits from this way more than any other class in IdleOn. But if you do not have the Celtic Ordeal, then you're losing out on the incredible amount of attack speed, and therefore you're only relying on Coin Toss, so you're not benefiting as much as you should. So the single target damage is great if you're using Handy Pick, but remember, you don't get triple punch, you don't get double punch, so you're reliant on the Handy Pick, Sugar Rushes, Grey Grumblows, and also Stardew Drop. Unless you have RNG voucher, but no one has Ranked Head Red Salt, only the 1%. I'm talking for the 99% general. So if everyone had the ability to use the Celtic Ordeals at the very start, then it would be S tier. But for that reason and that reason alone, it's going to stay at A tier. Thank you so much, guys, for watching the tier list in the making of the party dungeons. I know this, could be very controversial. Leave me in the comment section below what you believe. Do you think that this is a legitimate tier list? Or do you think that, some things could be changed? I would love to hear you guys' feedback. I reply to nearly every message. Thank you for all the love that I've been getting recently. I mean, it's been absolutely huge. If you want to check me out on Twitch, I do stream Legends of IdleOn. I'm pretty sure I'm one of the 3 people that actually stream it, so come on down and check me out if you'd like. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this content. I'm trying to keep on putting out IdleOn videos, but I'm not trying to do the same as every other YouTuber. We're trying to switch it up, make it more unique. Make sure to tune in for next week when we do our next IdleOn video. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.